Greetings, everybody! Welcome once more to the Dracovin Empire. Are you ready to dive back into Golarion once more? The world of Pathfinder role-playing game system, because if you are ready, we're going to be meeting the Spider-Women of Golarion, the Jorogumo. So, be a little bit on guard. They're a little dangerous here, and I can do my best to protect you, but still, be safe. Stay close. I'm your host and guide here, Tantus Dracovin. I can lead you in a gate through the universe, through time and space, to arrive once again in Golarion and meet these interesting women who, we'll find them in certainly TNZ, but across the world, too. You ready to travel? Grab my hand. Let's get going. Gate awaits. Whew! Back in Golarion, TNZ. We're a little bit close to the Shenmen border here because, well, there's a lot of Jorogumo and Shenmen, but not the only place, but it's a good place to start learning about them. And what's some sources to learn about them, especially if you maybe want to get into a fight with them. You're not playing them, but there's some stats for combating. And there are 3 big books I would recommend. Of course, the 2 books with their combat stats would be from 1st edition, Bestiary 3, and I found it ironic and funny from 2nd edition, also Bestiary 3. They're both Bestiary 3. I just found that funny. But for a little bit more context on things, the Assault on the Hunting Lodge 7 from the Agents of Edgewatch Adventure Path also provides the 2nd edition stats for it, a little bit of information, and use it. So that's kind of where we're going to look for this. Now you know about fighting them. Let's understand who are the Jorogumo. Well, Spider-Women. That's the easiest way to describe them, because they appear as beautiful humanoid female people at just first glance. Traditionally human, but it could be any beautiful human. But they're really spider monsters. A hybrid of a spider and a humanoid, and they hunt other sentient creatures. 1, because they like feeding on them, and 2, because they're a reproductive cycle. We'll talk about it. But other than looking like these beautiful women, well, the big thing to notice with them is the massive spider legs that burst out of their back. That's the easiest way to describe them. Now granted, they can hide those. They can shapeshift just into a normal humanoid. But no, in their kind of natural form, those emerge from their back, showing them off. And they can also transform into a big spider, too. They're very good at assuming these different forms, too. Very quick at it. So just boom, they're in this different form. They scheme and hide in these various places, traditionally isolated mountains where they have their own domains. Well, that's a Jorogumo, just by looking at them and understanding. Let's understand their nature, their society, their habitat a little bit. Let's dive deeper into what makes them tick. And we now have to talk about what they feed on, and sometimes why they feed on. So, again, they prey on humanoid travelers mainly from their homes, whether it be, and again, mountaintops are the bits. If you don't eat you, well, maybe you have a worse fate. Basically being a incubator for an egg. And that comes into what they do, basically, in a lot of ways. Because they are going to basically spider with a man. Insect with a man. Except once they're done with you, egging you. And you'll be alive for a while. Yeah, you won't die right away. They'll come back, keep poisoning you, keeping you paralyzed, until the young Jorogumo wakes up and starts feeding. Yep. They kind of pull a spider with male spiders, except it's males they can capture. But they also kind of pull a little bit of hunting spiders, implanting their eggs in victims. Things like tarantula hawks and such. They're very pleasant to be around in this way. So yeah. Of course, they have their very resilient spider legs to climb on surfaces. They have their sticky webs, poisonous bite, and they have magical powers that include illusions and commanding spiders. So they have a wide variety of abilities. They will often have pet spiders that they will have in their areas. Giant spiders to keep as both pets and guards for their layers. So this is a Jorogumo from Shenmen. we can't talk about the Jorogumo without talking about Shenmin, but we're not going to dive into it just yet. We're going to talk about the fact that Jorogumo tend to be solitary, but they can work together. They can work together with each other. They can work together with other groups, other than just keeping spiders as pets. There are other things like they have a hatred for Tengu, an absolute hatred. They will drop everything, drop all subterfuge, fly into a murderous rage, and attack a Tengu on sight. No one knows the source of this hatred, but there are Jorogumos that insist that the Tengu can somehow breathe through their trickery and their deceptions and are immune to their poisons. Whether this is true or not, who knows? But we know that Jorogumo, boom, try to murder you. And again, they do tend to be solitary, but sometimes they work together with each other or other groups. There are those who have taken up the worship of Morgabur, and that can lead them into working with other clerics and allies within that. Or there's sometimes those who will work with things like thieves' guilds, and following that god's guise as the Grey Master. So we see them infiltrating places and heading into things, other than just being solitary out in the mountains. Yeah, that's traditional, like Jorogumo. But each is an individual and sometimes can infiltrate into societies, and sometimes can work together with other Jorogumo. Again, there's usually a hierarchy there that we can look to Shenmin, which we're going to talk about in a minute here, to understand how, when groups of Jorogumo work together, how they work. So we have to turn to Golarion. Now, Shenmin, and the city under the ground where the Jorogumo rule that country from, because they really do. On the surface, yeah, they don't exist. Kinda do, kinda don't. But on the underside, go see my Shenmin video. They really rule that nation. And these aren't the only Jorogumo in Golarion. This is just the point and place where we can point out they've gained the most control. I'm not saying that there aren't secret societies, small groups that have influenced things or infiltrate places or locals. Perhaps there are more like this place, where they stalk the underground, controlling from secrecy, and then plucking out their most choice men to be parts of their harems until they're no longer used and, poisoned, killed, and put with a nice little egg that, will eat them. Incubator. When they no longer are needed for their acquired groups of people. Shenmin is a horrible place to live. Go look at my video on that one. But it goes to show you, it's exacerbating the Jorogumo nature and society as a whole. And we can see that there is usually, when there's groups of them, one on top that has to kind of have power, strength, and basically the ability to rule over the rest of them. And they use that strength to do that. They then have to worry about basically the countless others under them turning against them. Now, granted, it's not going to be a direct thing, and they're not going to unite together, because each one of them would want to replace the current queen or ruler or leader and be the new one. So, of course, they're not going to work together, because they're not going to be able to do that. So you just have to kind of maintain order amongst your troops. It's a messy, messy, messy situation when Jorogumo make a small society together, or a big one like Shenmin. And it does not help the people around them. Jorogumo are powerful and murderous and dangerous. So yeah, never pleasant. But there you go. There's Jorogumo. Now again, I wanted to kind of dive into them as their own thing, because I talked about them a little bit when I did my Shenmin video. Go check that out if you haven't already watched it. But the fact is, they aren't just in Shenmin. They're in other places in TNZ. They're in other places across the Golarion. It's not their only place. Again, I think we kind of may associate them with TNZ, because when we look on Golarion, we point at Shenmin and we're like, hey, right there, that's where we know they really are. But you can kind of take a look at things like the Agents of Edgewatch, which has the stats for them, and it kind of links back to them with that one. It's a different location than TNZ. But looking at all this, and looking at the Jorogumo, they make the leap from mythology, because they are kind of based on, honestly, mythological creatures. One's in Asian lore, at least Japanese. I don't know if there's other things, other than Japan. Japanese folklore, mainly. So these are very heavily based in Japanese folklore. So these are folklore monsters, a type of yokai. And they transition very well into Pathfinder and into TNZ. So, yeah. They match their counterparts very well, you know? In lore and in folklore. So, I think it's the best thing you can say about it. Paizo captured their essence very well, and you can definitely use them in the game, or enjoy visiting Shenmue. Enjoy. But yeah, what do you think? I hope you enjoyed diving into Jorogumo. I did want to kind of do it, again, video on their own, because they are separate than Shenmue, even though they're deeply tied to it, and I feel like they need a bit of love on their own. Yeah. Respect. Maybe not love. Spider women. Very evil spider women. It's going to eat you. No, thank you. But if you want to check out more of my stuff, please check me out either on Twitch or over on YouTube. The Twitch side, that's when I record videos like this live. All my tabletop stuff that's recorded live or over on there does go up on YouTube, but that's things like videos like this. My live play Pathfinder 2nd Edition Wednesdays at 8, Fall of Avonswell. Go check that out. And my discussion show, kind of podcasty thing, discussing tabletop Saturdays at 6. Of course, I do other things like gaming with friends, gaming on my own, just chatting, and you can always check out that other variety stuff I do. But if you just want to check out my tabletop stuff, that gets online over on the YouTube side. You can always check it out there. If you are there, please do the like, subscribe, and the bell stuff. And of course, hey, have you fought a Jorogumo? Have you experienced them? What are your stories related to them? Or if you're a DM, GM, who do you use one of them? Let me know. What do you think about this? And you check out my social medias, all linked below. And until the next time, I bid you all out there a deep and wonderful farewell.